to talk about it now, but for the bit, I'm kind of thinking I should try to come up with something else to still make him wait to talk about this just to annoy the hell out of him. I don't even know that he's listening to anything I'm saying right now.
I'm listening. Go ahead. You're trying to come up with something to annoy the hell out of me. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying to keep
there he is. I think
going,
he's done it, CC. He just talked.
To keep the bit going, where he's like, can we talk about this? Can we talk about this? Can we talk about? And every time we're trying to talk about it, it gets pushed back. But
we just can't talk about this topic, though.
I don't know. Can we?
Well,
no, I'm saying Shedeur.
We've been trying to talk about it for weeks.
I know, and I'm trying to find something else.
But why would you want to do that?
Just to annoy you, as a joke.
It's not going to annoy me. I don't understand why we can't get to it.
Adam Schefter was on with us yesterday, every Tuesday, presented by ZipRecruiter, and gave us his assessment, currently based on the reporting, obviously, of the Browns quarterback situation.
My guess would be that they're going to go through the summer, and Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett will sort of be vying for that roster spot. And by the way, I think the winner starts to start the season, and the loser maybe winds up on a team that needs a quarterback, and they wind up trading one of the guys, the veterans. That's how I would view it today. Now, let's see how the summer unfolds. Sometimes there are rookies that come into training camp and light it up, a la Russell Wilson, a la Dak Prescott, a la Bo Nick. You just don't know, and they win the starting job right away. Now, do I think that that's going to happen with Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders? I would think not, but we don't know how it's going to go. But if it goes the way that it's fairly typical, I would think that they'll carry both rookies, and that I would think they'll try to move one of the veterans.
May 21st, leave Watson to the side. I know that a lot of people are saying, hey, he's trying to fight back from the ACL, whatever. He's not going to play for them. We know that. Flacco, Pickett, Sanders, Gabriel. CC, what is going to be their QB depth chart, or what should be their QB depth chart?
I think they'll move on from Kenny Pickett. He has more value than Joe Flacco does. I think Joe Flacco will be the steady hand that they decide they're going to keep in the room. We know that Joe Flacco is not going to be threatened by any of those other young quarterbacks, and I'm pretty sure that it's early enough in Kenny Pickett's career where he still fancies himself as a guy that should be a starting quarterback in this league. So for the Cleveland Browns, this year is a free roll when it comes to trying to figure out whether or not one of these guys that you took a flyer on in the middle rounds can be your franchise quarterback long term, knowing that you have the additional first-round draft pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars going into 2026, which is a much deeper quarterback draft class. So if Dillon Gabriel and or Shedeur Sanders don't show you enough this year, you're absolutely going to take a quarterback at the top of next year's draft. So I don't understand why you wouldn't give yourself a large enough sample size, give those guys a long enough runway to see what they are or what they aren't.
Would you go with one over the other? If you're going to have a free roll, as you said, and test out both of these guys, obviously based on what you see in camp and in practice is going to inform how you move about that. But let's say they're neck and neck. Let's say that you could make a good argument to go with Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. Knowing the hype and the conversation that's going to be happening around Shedeur, would you go with him first, or would you try Dillon Gabriel out
I'm
first?
going with whoever my locker room responds to the most.
Well, you know that answer now, don't you?
It feels like we do with Shedeur Sanders. Just based on how the rookies reacted to him coming off of rookie minicamp, based on what we've been hearing in terms of his interaction with veterans around the building, the coaching staff, it feels like people are gravitating towards Shedeur Sanders. Not to mean that Dillon Gabriel can't be a leader, not to say that Dillon Gabriel can't play, but Shedeur Sanders is the leader in the clubhouse because he's comfortable in that environment, because he's been around the NFL all his life. Mm-hmm. His dad is Deion Sanders. So he's going to acclimate a lot quicker than all of those other rookies, including Dillon Gabriel.
You know, there's low-hanging fruit always with the Browns because of how bad they've been for how long they've been. And I think everyone tries to take that. I've done it. We've all probably done it at different times. I think we also need to acknowledge two rookies, one drafted in the 3rd round, one drafted in the 5th round, that both had successful college careers. One is uber famous and accomplished, and Shedeur have both said all positive things about each other so far. There's been nothing like competitive. There's nothing like, oh, well, Shedeur's trying to get this camp and Gabriel's trying to get this. Shedeur's buttering up Myles Garrett while Dillon Gabriel's buttering up Kevin Stefanski. And then now there's none of that. I know it's early, but let's also acknowledge these two guys are in competition and are hanging with each other and promoting each other. actually good culture with the Browns.
Yeah, but there ain't no participation trophies, though. Like
I'm just saying,
we can't share first place. Somebody's going to win the starting quarterback job, and I think that both of these guys are going to be in that conversation going into training camp. That's why I think this is the most fascinating camp battle that we're going to see in the preseason. It's going to be the starting quarterback job for the Cleveland Browns. And inevitably, somebody is going to be traded, and there's going to be a surprise in terms of, who ends up being the week 1 starter. Even if it ends up being Shedeur Sanders, I can't say that I expect it for the Cleveland Browns. It would be a surprise. If it ends up being Dylan Gabriel, it would be a surprise. About the only one that wouldn't be a surprise as the starting quarterback week 1 would be Joe Flacco, and that's just because they've got proof of concept with Joe Flacco.
Yeah, been there, done that.
But everybody else that's in that quarterback room right now, if they're the week 1 starter, it would be a surprise. But I'm not too sure that isn't the way that the Cleveland Browns should go.
Smells, you could follow one quarterback battle in the preseason, Indianapolis or Cleveland. Which one do you follow?
Oh, Cleveland, without a doubt.
Even though Indianapolis has a top 5 pick and a top, 6 pick.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. Cleveland's more interesting.
Because of Shedeur. He's a star.
Something very interesting about Brock Purdy's contract with the Niners and the fact that nobody was offering anything for him.
There's a lot of ways to come to this number, and a lot of ways that they did come to this number. There were multiple meetings between the two sides, and I think Brock Purdy's initial asking price was north of $60 million. He was not going to get $60 million. He was not going to become the highest paid quarterback in football. It didn't fit into the 49ers salary structure. And I think also there was the idea that at one point in time, maybe the 49ers would have listened for Brock Purdy trade offers. There were no trade offers that came in. There were no teams that really expressed interest. And Brock Purdy's perfect for them, and they're perfect for him. He's perfect for them. It just works. It's the way it should be. His value is greatest on that team.
Okay, so, and great stuff as always from Schefter. Go back on the podcast and listen. Adam Schefter podcast available wherever you get your pods, including the ESPN app. So let's try to leave aside for a second anyone's personal opinion right now, just for the sake of this argument, on Purdy. Let's just deal in facts. So we have a man that is 25 years old. We have a man that is, for his career, 64 touchdowns, 27 interceptions, has been a part of a team that went to the Super Bowl and lost in the Super Bowl, has had great players around him and has had great coaching, and he has provided that coach a great quarterback in terms of what that coach, Kyle Shanahan, is looking for. I don't think I spoke in hyperbole at all in this case, right? So factually, you have to, and Adam said he asked for 65, and they got to 53. Explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old, why no team in between when they were at 65 and when they got to 53 said, maybe there's an opening. We don't have a quarterback. Maybe we could get him and call John Lynch. Explain to me, because I just literally don't understand that.
I don't either. The only explanation I can give you is that Lamar Jackson, who was once upon a time an impending free agent that got franchise tag, had teams scrambling to release statements saying that they were uninterested in trading for him. I don't know why
Lamar is
NFL
clearly
teams,
better, no doubt.
Lamar is clearly better, won an MVP, unanimous, and yet NFL teams were in a hurry, tripping over themselves to say that they were not interested in Lamar Jackson's services, that they weren't going to try to sign him to an offer sheet from the Baltimore Ravens, which is absolutely ridiculous because we know if you have a franchise quarterback, he's easily worth 2 first-round picks. Easily.
Yes.
And so
whatever salary, it doesn't matter.
Lamar Jackson to an offer sheet and giving up 2 first-round draft picks to the Baltimore Ravens is easy.
You'd be happy
to get a quarterback of his ilk. He's a top 3 player at the position. He is the definition of elite. So I don't understand why teams like the Atlanta Falcons, like the Washington Commanders, were disinterested in trying to pursue Lamar Jackson. And if they weren't going to pursue Lamar Jackson in a trade and sign, it's not far-fetched to think that teams would dismiss the possibility of pursuing Brock Purdy.
Okay, so question on that then. As we hear this, again, explain. I'm not interested for this moment in getting into would you give up this for Purdy? Would you pay him this? Because there's no argument. Nobody did it. Pittsburgh Steelers, New York Giants, Seattle Seahawks, Vegas Raiders. I'm just thinking of teams that either changed quarterbacks or had holes at the quarterback position.
Cleveland
Browns.